It's a little past midnight, late September, the kind of thick, windless Ohio night that makes you feel like the world is holding its breath, and then the sky just explodes. Orange, violent, hungry, 3 entire acres of my corn, my daughter's college tuition, my grandfather's dying wish, my wife's sleepless nights, everything we'd poured our souls into for 20 years, suddenly roaring up in a wall of fire, so bright it turns the dark into noon. And there, silhouetted against the inferno like some suburban devil claiming her kingdom, stands Madeline Maddie Voss, president of the Silverbrook Hollow HOA, clutching an empty 5-gallon gas can in one hand and her iPhone in the other, live streaming the whole goddamn apocalypse to her 8,000 followers, voice dripping with champagne and venom glee. Say goodbye to the eyesore, ladies. Tomorrow we break ground on phase 2 of luxury living. And I'm just standing there on my back porch in nothing but boxers and boots, coffee going cold in my hand, watching my life burn, except I'm not panicking. I'm smiling. Because I've been waiting for this exact moment for 47 days, and every camera I own is rolling in 4K, every motion sensor screaming, every fire department dispatcher already has my GPS ping lighting up their screen like the 4th of July. Because tonight Maddie Voss just walked straight into the steel jaw trap I spent all summer baiting with my own blood, sweat, and a whole lot of patience. My name is Noah Caldwell, 4th-generation corn farmer on 8 acres of the sweetest loamy soil God ever gave man, land my great-grandpa Silas Caldwell bought in 1950 for $287 and a promise, back when Clinton County was nothing but rolling green oceans of corn and the occasional church steeple, before the developers descended like locusts and turned it into Silverbrook Hollow, a sprawling monument to beige vinyl and people who think farm is something that happens to other people. My wife Lydia teaches kindergarten at Riverside Elementary, still smells like glue sticks and hope every afternoon when she walks through the door. Our twin daughters Harper and Quinn, 18 going on 30, one bound for veterinary school, the other already designing bridges in her head, $60,000 a year between them. That's what this corn pays for, every single stalk, every single ear. Every sunrise I spend on my knees praying the rain comes and the bankers stay away. And Maddie Voss, 49, Botox, Pilates, and a soul blacker than fresh asphalt, decided that my family's future was just an inconvenience standing between her and a $212,000 commission check. It started small, the way cancer always does. A pastel envelope slid under my door last March, concern regarding visible agricultural equipment, then another, odor complaints from livestock, then a third threatening fines because my 1955 Minneapolis Moline apparently clashes with the community palette. And I laughed, because that tractor was here before her McMansion was even a gleam in some architect's over-caffeinated eye. But Maddie didn't laugh. She smiled the way great whites smile right before they bite. 2 weeks later, I caught her on the far side of my fence with a slick developer in a $5,000 suit, both of them pointing at my fields like they were already carving up streets named after trees they'd murdered, whispering about timeline for vacant possession. These holdouts always crumble once the pressure's right. And something cold and ancient woke up in my chest. The same thing that woke up in Fallujah when I realized the enemy wasn't going to stop at the perimeter wire. Because this wasn't about property values anymore. This was war. So I started preparing the battlefield the way I was taught, quietly, methodically, invisibly. Trail cams in the trees, infrared floods that turn night into green daylight, motion alerts routed straight to my phone and the sheriff's non-emergency line. Because I knew in my bones, that Maddie Voss wasn't the type to quit at nasty letters and fake noise complaints. And I was right. First came the slashed irrigation lines, for perfect cuts in the dark of a July night, while my corn was screaming for water in 100-degree heat. Then the phony fire marshal visit with doctored photos of smoke that wasn't even on my land. Then the diesel dumped into my soil just to let me know they could touch me anytime they wanted, little postcards written in felony. I called my old squad leader Cole Ramsey, now the meanest agricultural rights attorney in 3 states. Voice still gravel and calm like we're waiting for mortars again. Noah, when they start manufacturing a paper trail, they're building a coffin. Document every breath, and whatever you do, don't bleed where they can see it. So I didn't bleed. I smiled, and I waited, and I recorded. By midsummer, the attacks went from petty to biblical. Hydraulic lines nicked just enough to explode under pressure and crush a man. Lug nuts loosened on my grain truck so the wheels would shear off at 60 miles an hour. 5 pounds of sugar poured into my combine's fuel tank because some people still believe Hollywood myths. And then the one that turned my vision red. 2 gallons of industrial glyphosate sprayed in a perfect smiling death line along my eastern fence. 20 rows of corn turning the color of old bones overnight. And my night vision camera caught Maddie herself, face glowing like a demon in the infrared, humming while she murdered my daughter's future one trigger pull at a time. That same week, a county water truck rolled up with a cease and desist thicker than the Bible, claiming my 1950 well was somehow draining the entire subdivision's aquifers. Charts so fake, they still had the default Excel watermark, and without water in August, my entire crop would be kindling in 6 days. 60 grand gone, college gone, everything gone. But I had her on video committing a 5-year felony. And still I waited, because one fish is a trophy, the whole school is justice. That's when Mr. Leonard Lenny Whitaker, 76, retired letter carrier, widower, keeper of every secret this county ever mailed, became the bravest spy I ever served with. He started showing up at Maddie's Community Standards Committee meetings with his hearing aid conveniently turned off and his 2009 flip phone recording in his shirt pocket, feeding me intel that made my skin crawl, bribes offered, threats whispered, timelines drawn in blood. One night, he played me a scratchy 30-second clip that stopped my heart. Maddie's voice, honey over broken glass. I have to deliver vacant possession by October 1st, or I lose everything. Second mortgage, the Mercedes, the Cabo wedding, all of it. Farmers always fold once their crop burns. She'd already spent money that didn't exist yet. She was drowning, and drowning people will burn the world down to stay afloat. So I did the one thing she never saw coming. I filed a permanent Ohio Century Farm Conservation easement, 30 days to approval. Once signed, my 8 acres could never, ever be developed. Not if Jesus himself came back with a bulldozer. Her entire multi-million-dollar deal turned to worthless confetti before she even knew it existed. And then I sat back and let her escalate. Let her dig the grave deeper, because the higher the climb, the longer the fall. She tried to steal my irrigation pump next, caught red-handed with her hired thug Vince, the adjuster, Moretti, ex-private eye, a turned professional scumbag. Both of them wrestling a $3,000 diesel motor onto a trailer at 2 a.m. until the sheriff's floodlights turned them into statues, abandoned their winch, and ran like rats when the cavalry arrived. But cornered rats don't surrender. They set the house on fire. Thursday, September 29th, the air so dry it crackled, corn leaves sharp as razor blades, humidity thick enough to chew, and at 11:47 p.m., every thermal camera I own lights up like the surface of the sun. 2 heat signatures gliding through my backfield, pouring camping naphtha in a giant, perfect circle, because even arson deserves aesthetic, and there's Maddie Voss, designer yoga pants and all, whispering to Vince. Make it look like faulty wiring. I'll be at the township meeting, ironclad alibi. And at 11:52, she flicks a rose gold lighter, and the night just detonates. But every single one of my cameras is hardwired to Clinton County Fire Dispatch. 87 seconds later, sirens are screaming from 3 directions. GPS pings, live feeds, accelerant confirmation, the whole 9, and Maddie's face when Chief Donovan Hayes steps off the first truck, still dripping with the gasoline she poured. Absolute, biblical terror. Meanwhile, inside the packed township hall, half the county is debating the new agricultural protection ordinance when the fire chief's radio explodes. Suspects detained on scene. Female mid-40s. Multiple containers recovered. Arson confirmed. And Maddie is sitting 4 rows ahead, trying to melt into the carpet, clutching her Kate Spade like it's a parachute. That's when I stand up, slow, deliberate, voice steady as a funeral drum. And for the next 12 minutes, I unload 6 months of hell on that room. Recordings, bank statements, the easement that murdered her deal in its sleep. Lenny standing proud to admit he'd been my inside man the whole time. And when the deputies march in to cuff the queen of Silverbrook Hollow in front of 300 neighbors, the silence is so complete you can hear her future shatter. She collapses, legs gone, sobbing about just trying to improve the community, while they list the charges like a death knell: felony arson, conspiracy to commit fraud, agricultural terrorism, RICO predicate acts, the works. And as they drag her past me in steel bracelets, I lean in just enough to whisper, "Told you the tractor stays, Maddie." 8 months later, I'm walking rows of knee-high corn with Harper and Quinn, both of them debt-free, one headed to Cornell Vet Med, the other Georgia Tech bound for structural engineering, settlement money, and crop insurance paid every dime, and then some with interest. Lydia finished paralegal school and now runs the Caldwell Farm Defense Project. We've saved 14 families from the same nightmare so far. Lenny teaches fraud awareness classes to seniors every Tuesday night and still blushes when people call him a hero. And the Silas Caldwell Legacy Scholarship just sent its third class of future AG lawyers to school on Maddie's tears. Madeline Voss got 30 months in Marysville, permanent real estate license revocation, and has to drive past my thriving corn every single morning on her way to mop floors at the pilot truck stop off I-71. Vince got 22 months and a new nickname in Yard. The development company wrote a check for $940,000 to make the federal case disappear. And Silverbrook Hollow now has a 40-foot pollinator meadow along my fence with a bronze plaque that reads, "In memory of the night one woman tried to burn a legacy, and learned some fires only make things grow stronger." Some evenings I still sit on the same porch with Lydia, coffee going cold again, watching fireflies dance over corn that will never be condos, and I think about how close we came to losing everything to one greedy monster in LULU, and how the sweetest revenge isn't destruction. It's survival. It's thriving. It's watching your daughters plant the next row knowing no one will ever take it from them again. So I gotta ask you, when someone declares war on your children's future, when they try to burn your grandfather's name out of the soil itself, is there a line you don't cross? Or do you cross every line necessary to protect what's yours? Was I cruel for letting her light the match that finally cooked her? Or was justice exactly what she ordered the moment she decided my family's dreams were disposable? Tell me where you stand. No filter, no judgment, just real talk between people who know what it feels like when everything you love is on the line. And if you've got your own story of some clipboard tyrant trying to steal your home, your land, your peace, drop it below. We read every single one, because the more light we shine, the less darkness they have to hide in. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, share this with anyone who's ever been told their way of life is in the way. Next week, a 78-year-old widow, a 150-year-old deed, and 400 guinea fowl versus a billionaire who thought he could buy a lake. You're not ready for how this ends. Until then, keep your powder dry, your cameras rolling, and your corn standing tall. This is Noah Caldwell, signing off from ground that will never be for sale. See you in the comments.